I am forever grateful that they cast Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides in Dune. Because if it weren't for that, I would have probably never watched Dune and then subsequently been so intrigued by this richly complex fictional world that is on par with the likes of Lord of the Rings and a predecessor to Star Wars and Game of Thrones, serving as inspiration for both of them as well as many other series. I'm kind of sick, so my voice is a little bit higher. No. So basically I watched for Timothée Chalamet, but stayed for this richly intriguing world based on the best-selling science fiction novel in history, which I had never even heard about. I'm like super into science fiction, so I'm like, I've never heard of Dune. This is like one of those rare occasions where I didn't even see the trailer. I just saw the poster and I saw Timothée's face and I was like, yes, we must watch Dune. Even without knowing what this story was about. This franchise probably has millions of fans and I'm over here being like, I'm watching for Timothée Chalamet. I could feel how epic Dune was watching this movie. Like, I know I'm just seeing like part of it. It does use a lot of visual storytelling to immerse you into this universe where the scale is like too large to take in all at once, which is probably why it starts you off looking through this little peephole. It doesn't bore you with a lot of endless explanation, which I appreciate, even though it's so complicated. Going in as a Dune noob, I was confused. I was so confused, which is why I'm making this video, because I hope I'm not the only one that was confused. It focuses on the journey of the main character, Paul Atreides, which is played by Timothée Chalamet, which I've probably already said like a million times because Timothy. I've been a fan of Timothée Chalamet since Call Me By Your Name, so yeah. Me and Timothée go a long way back. Okay, maybe not. Everyone talks about how gorgeous this film is. Yes, it is very beautiful. And you get to see a lot of things that you've probably never seen before or never even tried to imagine. The concept of Arrakis and the spice. That was what drew me in. This is the movie. This is what Dune is. The desert planet of Arrakis that contains this spice that is the most valuable resource in the universe because it is essential. It is critical for interstellar travel. At first I thought the spice melange, the little sand particles that make up this dune, I thought it was a fuel source that powers rocket ships like spaceships, but no, it is used by the space navigators on the ships. It's more of a mental thing. There's so many like mental things in this that makes it confusing. But I will explain everything I didn't understand to the extent where you have enough information that you're not just completely confused by this film, because I was in the beginning. The first weird thing that I found out, Paul Atreides, he is the son of Leto Atreides. He's kind of an illegitimate son now that I think about it, because his mother, Jessica, is Leto's concubine. Like there's a scene where Leto, they're kind of sharing an intimate moment and he's like, I should have married you. And then I was like, oh my god, they're not married? What is this? I thought she was like the queen. But no, she's like his concubine. And Jessica, haha, we have the same name. Anyways, Jessica, she's part of this witch sorceress organization, these witch nuns called the Bene Gesserit. Okay, I'm gonna like butcher these names, but hopefully you know who I'm talking about. They're like the ones in control of the universe. And obviously, going into this, I didn't know that. I saw them as like these really creepy looking space nuns. Their mission, their mission is to bring about or produce this prophesized messiah that is male, because this sisterhood of witch nuns, they're all females, and their powers limit them to only be able to see into the past of female organisms. And if they bring about this Kwisatz Haderach person, messiah guy, he's supposed to be more powerful than all of them because he's a man that can look into the past of both genders, and he's supposed to lead the universe to a better place. Or he's supposed to be this big deal. Oh my god, I'm butchering this. They started this breeding program and it's been going on for freaking 10,000 years. And Jessica was not supposed to give birth to Paul Atreides. She was supposed to give birth to a daughter who would later marry the son of the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who is like the main antagonist opposite to the House Atreides. Their kid was supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach. Also want to say the Baron Harkonnen, he's Jessica's dad. There's like this scene where he's like eating with Leto at the table. He calls him cousin. Obviously, I didn't catch that. And then later I'm just like, ew, he's her dad. But then I find out that he's actually deformed because one of the Bene Gesserits, she like made him deform. So he used to be really good looking. And he's apparently kind of tall too. I thought he had really long legs. Like there was a scene where he kind of stands up, but I thought he was standing up, but he's not actually standing up. He's like using this gravity thing that kind of helps him float. But he's wearing this long ass robe that goes all the way to the ground. So I'm just like, oh my God, he has really long legs, but it's not his legs. Jessica, because she loved Paul's father, Leto, so much, she decided to give him a son. But then Leto didn't even marry her for political reasons, so I guess she loved him more than he loved her, which is kind of sad. She kind of like broke the thing, and then the Reverend Mother was kind of mad at her, but then she like put Paul through a test where he almost died, which I was like, oh my God, Jessica, why would you put your son through this? Because as I was watching the movie, I didn't know. That test was to test to see if he was human. And I didn't know that until I Googled it. And it was basically to see that he has self-restraint or control or whatever. Because the definition of human has become very strict. Paul is like us. Us as the viewer, we put ourselves in Paul's shoes because I'm pretty sure he doesn't know anything. He's like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what my purpose is. He goes to Arrakis, and the Harkonnens, they were in control of Arrakis for like the past 70 or 80 years, harvesting the spice. So the thing about Arrakis is there are the native people who are the Fremen. The other thing on Arrakis is those giant sandworms, because they're the ones that produce the spice. You know, I was thinking about it and I was like, water is the most valuable resource for anyone on Arrakis. Why can't you just trade water with them? Like just give them water, take some of their spice, so you got this system going on, instead of being like, oh my God, we're just here to take your spice and we don't care about you, Fremen. But apparently it's because the sandworm biology, they can't be around water. The Emperor, Shaddam, whatever, was like, hey, he kind of secretly made a deal with the Harkonnens to basically get rid of the House Atreides because Atreides was getting too powerful. Paul's father dies, but then Paul survives because the Bene Gesserit River mother was like talking to the Baron and being like, you have to keep Paul alive. So the Bene Gesserit are always in the background. They're the actual ones that are in control, and apparently the Emperor's wife is also a Bene Gesserit. These nuns are everywhere. They like to plant these ideas into budding civilizations, so they develop in a certain direction, which they kind of have control of. They also made the Fremen believe that this Messiah, this Kwisatz Haderach, was going to be the person to lead them to freedom and to lead Arrakis into a prosperous land. But Paul doesn't believe it. Paul is like, people here are only believing what you tell them to believe. He has these dreams about Zendaya. Okay, Zendaya's not even really in part one. This whole movie is about Paul, you know? He's having these like dreams that are kind of like glimpses into the future. In the beginning, he thinks that he's seeing the future. Later on, he finds out he's seeing multiple different possible futures, and that is one of the powers of the Kwisatz Haderach. He's able to see into the future and into the past. He's able to see a bunch of futures. Well, actually, I don't really remember, but this story is about Paul's journey into becoming the person he was prophesized to become. We'll see what happens to Paul, but I'm gonna spoil this. I already know he becomes like a really evil leader. But I mean, it's not about knowing what he becomes, it's more about the journey of how he gets there. Because I'm like very curious about that, because Paul seems like a sweet kid. And not because he's Timothée Chalamet. It's not really a hero's journey. This whole story is kind of like, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. The scene. There's this scene. Remember the doctor, the Asian Dr. Yue or whatever? There's this scene where he like speaks to Timothy Paul in Chinese. Freaking Timothée Chalamet's Chinese is on point. I know he only said like one sentence, but I was like, oh my God, the accent was perfect. You guys can let me know how you feel about Dune. If you were a noob like I was and you thought the Baron had really long legs. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one, but I might be. I might have been the only one that was confused. Or if you're like, you know, longtime fan, you've read the books, you know all the details, because I want to know. I feel like I got some stuff wrong.